you know, rock scrapes and branches and whatnot, because it's kind of slick, so it deflects a lot of crap and keeps the chassis new looking. So if I took that skin off, my Mojave chassis would look pretty good. And these cars, they're not perfect out of the box. Ooh. And I'm not just talking about their mechanical stuff, like, you know, servos, electronics. I mean, like, some of the design. You have to goof with, you know, spacing with the dog bones in some of them. You might have to trim down your A-arms, like on the Creighton. Trimming down the A-arms a couple of millimeters works wonders for keeping those dog bones in place. And that's what I have done. And I can see on Stu's car, I just noticed, because one of his bulb joints from the A-arm was coming loose. And while I was tightening it up, I noticed that whoever owned it last had clipped the A-arm down, because that red reinforcement on the end was missing. Well, this one doesn't have them, but the Mojave and the Creighton have them. Well, they're definitely a Creighton. I can vouch for that, and I think the Mojave too. But you could take that red spacer off, and that gives you a little more room to get closer. But what I had to do is clip down both the A-arms, you know, top and bottom. The bottom one, or the top one, is a little skinnier, and you don't have a lot more to work with. But you don't want your toe to be all crazy, so you have to do both of them. And my toe is still a little bit off, but I didn't want to take any more off that top arm. But I'll tell you, I don't pop drive shafts like I used to. And the only reason I'm kind of getting there these days is because my cups are getting old, and they're wearing down, and you know, they don't hold that dog bone in place as well as they used to. So recently I have been using permanent thread lock on these motor pinions, because, well, the Arma pinions are great because they hug the shaft perfectly, like, but any other pinion is just a round hole, and it's relying 100% on that grub screw. And that grub screw is taking a lot of heat, a lot of work. So putting it in there with permanent is the only solution I have found to keep that damn grub screw in place, because I don't want to lose a $15 motor pinion that's still in perfect condition. And I've come close many times. I've gotten back to, you know, change the battery and looked at the pinion, and it was just flopping there, you know, hanging on, you know, somehow. It's amazing what 10 more amps will do, because those Hobby Wing 160 you know, max 8s are crazy. The amount of power that's behind that on my Creighton now is significant. A lot more than the Spectra 150. And these are great ESCs. I love them. Tons of programming options too. cool thing about the Hobby Wing program card works with the ARRMA BLX ESC. Well, for 6S anyway, and it might for the 3S too. I don't think I've tried it yet. But I was goofing with Stu's BLX 150, or it's BLX 185, sorry. And it's 150 amp though. I have no idea why they call it 185. I was like, how is this thing 185 amps and so small? I was like, my Hobby Wing 160 amp is ginormous. But it's not. It's 150 amp. I didn't know that until I did some research. But yeah, there's only like 6 programming options for that car, and none of them are anything thrilling. They're all just practical functionality. And a 6-volt BEC, which is pretty low these days. People want a 7.4 volt BEC. That's what most ESCs in the 6S range are putting out. Even my Hobby Wing short course truck, SCT 120, that's got 7-volt option, 7.4 volt option for the BEC. And that's where I run my fans. That's how I run, the ES or the servo. Yeah, I like to run everything max strength. Actually, I don't have the punch set at 9 or anything. Wouldn't you just love to have something like this in your backyard? I mean, these hills are great. The jumps are great. I'd space them a little different. I might use the dirt, the rocks. I guess they're acceptable, but they sure beat the hell out of a car like this. And if I had something this grand in my backyard, I would definitely want it. I'd want to be able to run my WL Toys cars, my 12 scale cars. So the hills would definitely have to be cleaned up. The dirt, the rocks, all that would have to get separated. I don't think you don't want rockless dirt, because it won't hold together well. But definitely have to have a little bit tighter sifting process. Pebbles, but not rocks. And that would be very time consuming, unless you just bought the proper grade dirt right off the bat. But dirt is expensive, so you want to use the stuff that's already there. You just want to push the dirt around. A good place to build a place like this would be right next to a housing development that's being built, because they have a lot of dirt on hand that they have to figure out what to do with. Most of the times they incorporate the dirt they push around into the landscaping. They look at retention walls and things like that up with the dirt. But sometimes that's just out of necessity. They don't want the dirt. They have to figure out what to do with it. Sometimes they sell it. But if you were building a park or a place like this, it would be kind of good to butt it up right up against a neighborhood that's being built. My neighborhood actually it's a huge development. There's houses for acres and acres. But there's also huge swaths of land right in the middle of the place that are barren. There's nothing being done with them. And it would be the perfect place for a park, because it's kind of centralized. There's a park up front, but there's nothing for anyone further in to the development, because it goes kind of deep, and the deeper you go, there's nothing back there. But behind my house is just a huge field like this size, and nothing's being done with it, and it's a goddamn shame. And I'm sure they're just hoping for someday to develop it, but maybe not. And if I could get to the right people, maybe I could make something happen. I just need to find I need to find out who's in charge of that land. This is my single Podway battery, and it has been going a while now. Woo! Just having these few jumps right here would be fun as hell. I'd take that. But I'm carving out an oval in my backyard. A little dirt. It's just gonna be a dirt oval. It's grass right now, and I've only got it mowed down into the shape it's gonna be. And I have to find a way to, you know, remove the grass or kill the grass or something. At the same time, I don't want it to wind up being a mud pit. See, you know, Stu, just something like this. These two sets right here would be fun as hell. You know, because with your bashers, it's high enough to do some 360s and things. Or, you know, with your stunt trucks, rather. Of course, you wouldn't want that right there.
No, I wouldn't. No.
That thing's a bummer. It's right in the way. I have nailed that thing several times. You know, dead stop. Ooh.